Hey guys, True Grit Scott, Bulletproof Saws at BLUESAWS.com. Hope everybody's doing all right. It's actually cutting on the wood pile, and well, this chain shot, and this was another Bulletproof 366 that had to go out, so I figured I could run a tank of fuel through it, get a little bit of firewood done, and move on from there. I hope you guys can hear me because I'm trying to use the microphone on my headphones again. I thought that worked the other day, but to be honest with you, I didn't go back and watch the video good enough to know. I know there was sound. Although I thought maybe it wasn't synced up real well. Got some things to figure out there. I'll get it one of these days. Anyhow, chain wasn't cutting great, so I figured I'd hit it real quick, and I could see that something got into it. And I'm not trying to make a chain sharpening video. The only thing I get a lot of questions on sharpening chains. I use a file, and I use a progressive raker gauge. I'll tell you, leaving the files out here in the rain and the snow wasn't smart because they get a little rusty and dull. Should have brought them in. Forgot to bring them in. But to me, I could buy a file at any hardware store. You can walk in anywhere, get a round file. You don't have to do your rakers every time, but if you're in the woods having a jig, electric, like there's all these setups, and they're great, and each of them has its place. But to me, it's so easy to sharpen with a file and so quick. And files cost $3. You buy a file for $3, you get a progressive raker gauge for $10. You don't need anything else, and they fit in your pocket. You carry them anywhere. You can have extras all around. Whereas when you get into some of the other stuff, you can't. So I'm just tuning up this chain real quick. I'm not even going to hit the rakers because the rakers should be okay. And one thing I'll tell you is I didn't tighten up the chain, so the chain's a little loose and moving around on me. Don't think I care. Because I use a progressive raker gauge, I can have cutters that are full length cutters or cutters that hit rocks, and there's just a little bit of cutter, and the chain always cuts straight, no matter what. So guys who tell you you have to have all of your cutters the same length, they don't know what they're talking about. They're wrong. You don't. The chain will cut perfectly straight with all different size cutters as long as your raker, your depth gauge is matched to your cutter. So I'm not going to say I'm the best at sharpening a chain, but I'm pretty darn good. And what got me really good at it was sharpening for the chainsaw mill, because that really makes a difference. And a lot of guys who have frustrating cuts, have chatter, have this, that, and the other thing. And listen, it could be something with your mill. I'm not saying it can't be. But more often than not, it's getting the right chain into the right kind of wood. And guys are surprised. Sometimes I use full comp chain, full chisel, full comp chain milling. Well, how do you do that? Kind of depends on the wood. If it was hickory, I probably wouldn't do that. Because at the end of the day, when I'm chainsaw milling, I don't care how rough the cut is, and my cuts generally aren't real rough. They're pretty smooth, actually. I care about the speed of the cut and nothing else. And using a semi-chisel ripping chain, it'll get me maybe one or two more passes on it, but it's not that big of a deal to me. There's some wood that I prefer it in and some I don't. Like oak mills different than, say, white pine, or cherry might mill differently. I can get away with a full chisel chain in cherry. It's just the way it is. And it's probably got to do with the style of cutting you do and how you personally do it. Winch, no winch, pushing fast, running a lot of RPMs, higher horsepower saws, whatever it is. So it'd be different for everybody based on their situation. Let's see. So I'm going to blast through this chain real quick. So anyhow, I wasn't trying to poo-poo all the jigs and, grinders and, bits for your Dremel. Sometimes those things are kind of nice. I actually have somebody dropped off just for me to check it out, what do you call it, a carbide chain. And I have I have grinders, but I don't have diamond wheels for those. But I do have diamond Dremel bits that I'm going to try to sharpen that carbide chain for them with it and just see how it goes. I don't use them very much, but if you know how to sharpen a chain, you can pretty much use any tool and get a sharp chain. A lot of guys get that, I think Preferred made them first. It's the file with the raker gauge built in, and it's the whole jig thing. And then I think Steel bought rights to make it also, so people have them that. And those are nice setups, and a lot of guys have great luck with them. They're not going to do your skip chains. I don't know if you could do I don't know why you couldn't do rip chains, but I just don't know. But again, it's something I have to carry around. There, 50 bucks. You replace the files in them, and learning how just to buzz through a chain real quick with a file this is too easy to do, guys. And I tell guys, you're going to mess your first couple up. It's not going to go perfect. You're not going to know all the things that need to be done. After that, you'll start getting them pretty good. Then you'll make a mistake and you'll be frustrated, and then you'll get them good. And then after that, every chain you do is going to be fine. If I wasn't talking so much, I could generally bang through these pretty quick. I don't know if I'm back to my beginning yet. Hard to tell. I don't think so, because I only did a few before we started talking. I'm trying to think of what else I want to tell you guys about. I'm still working on my personal G366. I was going to pull it off the bench and just run it and be done with it, but I didn't. Oh, that was it. A lot of guys ask, if your chain's not throwing chips, it's dull. If it's not just eating into the wood, it's dull. Just go sharpen it. It'll save you trouble. Another question I get asked an awful lot is, how do I know if I'm getting enough oil? My chainsaw only puts out a full tank of fuel to half a tank of oil, different things like that. And really, it depends on the length of your bar. You have an adjustment on the pro saws that you turn up the oil or turn it down. And on the, a steel saw, it only turns a quarter of a turn. That's all the adjustment you get. You don't get 3 turns. But one of the things I tell guys is, as you're cutting, if, you could go in front of a block of wood and try to get the oil flinging off of it. That's one thing. But the way I tell is, if your chain is getting the sides of it, the tie straps, if that's getting a bunch of pitch built up, it's not oiling enough. If your chain is oiling properly, you'll have very little pitch buildup on the chain. So that's another thing. All right. My helper wants me to get back there and cut that wood because he's ready for more to split. So I'm going to end this video, but I figured I'd make a quick video, talk to you guys for 2 seconds, and have something to talk to you about. Anyhow, True Grit Scott, Bulletproof Saws, and BLUESAWS.com. Thanks for watching. Stay safe. I will be done with this.